Hello YouTube. Every one of my videos I've made so far I'm looking quite rough in it. So I will try and upload a video where I look a bit tidier, I hope. This is just another one of mine. I don't want to call it a rant. I don't know what to call it. But I want to start with something important. I'm dedicating my video today. There is currently 2.5 million people that I'm dedicating this video to. And that is every MS sufferer in the world at the moment. 2.5 million. I've got Sassy as well. Sassy? 2.5 million. And here comes my cat. Excuse me. She has a habit of wanting fuss at the worst possible time. 2.5 million. The number of people living with MS in the world at the moment. The world population is approximately 7 billion, I believe, give or take. It grows every day. It grows every second. I don't actually know how many people are born in the world every day, or how many babies are born, or how many people pass. Sassy, that's enough now, please. I'm trying to get deep. So this video is dedicated to them. I know I'm not diagnosed yet, but I know what fight I will have to fight, and how I will have to fight it. So, as I said in my previous video, I am okay with that. But this video is dedicated to them. Particularly to the, and I've written notes about this, 5,800 people on the Facebook MS group, 5,000 people in another group, 100 for the Midlands MS group, 1,000 to another group. That's just a small number. Even with crossovers, that's a lot of people living with MS on a day-by-day basis. This video is dedicated to them. The people who, despite what they are living with, despite what they have to put up with on a daily basis, how limited they can be, still crack a joke, still have a smile, excuse me, still have a laugh, still enjoy their life, because they feel that if they sit and wait and fear the worst, the disease wins. But the main point that I am making today is, in the last 145 years that MS has been around, I did look that up, 1868 it was first discovered, 145 years. For the first 120, 110 years, not a lot was done because there was no knowledge. There was no real medication. There was no real research. That is changing now. In the last 30 years, people have had DMDs, disease-modifying drugs. People have had therapies, hyperbaric, oxygen therapies. There's been a lot going on in the last 30 years. There's been treatments that have halted the disease progression and even repaired some of the damage. There is myelin treatments starting. There is new drugs being approved and tested I've subscribed to several science newsletters, and it seems every time I get one, there's something about MS, excuse me, or something to do with MS. There is talk of cholesterol and proteins to help with MS. There is so many people raising awareness for this. Now that MS has got a very, very public face, people like Jack Osborne, people like Montel Williams, people like Richard Pryor, who has been lost. This disease has a very, very public face. People are recognising what kind of impact MS can have on you. So, there is a lot going on right now. And as I have mentioned in a previous video, I genuinely believe that this disease is going to be cured in my lifetime. I'm 29. But this disease will be cured in my lifetime. Whether that be that they manage to completely eradicate what created the disease in the first place, which they are actually starting to look into, early stages of MS they're looking into, so that they can, if they can find the causes and the factors, can halt disease progression early. So, there is a lot going on right now. I've had to make notes because my brain is not helping me. Yeah, stem cell research, CCSVI, genetic factors. They're starting to look into when a pregnant woman with MS is pregnant, her disease seems to go into remission. And they're actually looking into pregnancy hormones. They're also looking into... There's a lot. I read such a list. I have known people who have undergone some treatments, who have lived with MS for so long, and their disease has halted. If it can't be completely cured, then they are developing treatments and drugs to halt your disease. I remember one of the first times I went to hospital after I was discharged and talk of MS was first mentioned. Me and my husband were waiting for a lift home, and Nick managed to come across a newspaper article that talked about a drug that completely halts disease progression. It was something that they were talking about in Sweden. Now, I see that as a sign. If the day that I first start learning about MS is the day that I see something that talks about disease progression halting completely, and I was 28 last year when I saw this, as I've only been living in an MS world for 4 months. So, last year. In the last 20 years, a lot is happening. For the 4 types of MS you can get, a lot is going on. People are talking about diet. People are talking about treatments. MS is no longer seen as a disease that has no cause and is just lesions on the brain or spine. That's it. That's what you've got. No more are people being told negative stories about, yes, you will end up in a wheelchair. Yes, it will kill you. People don't get told these stories anymore. There are MS centres being opened around the world. There is grants being given for research. There is research going on. There's even children in a school in Ireland raising money for MS. There are sports stars affected by MS, musicians, politicians. It's happening to a lot more people. MS is becoming a very widely known disease. I know those that think that MS isn't going to be cured. I just want you to those who have had MS for a couple of years, those that have had MS for 20, 30. One woman I know has had MS for 50 years. Just coming up to 50 years. I think she's about 70 now. 74. One of the most spry women I've ever seen. More spry than me. So she has known MS since before they knew anything about it. These people that are experiencing it now, those that think that no one is listening, no one is looking into this, I want you to look at everything that's been happening with MS in the last 5 years. I look it up, I read. Yes, MS at the minute is incurable, but it is so close to the boundary of being incurable, it's not going to be incurable for much longer. It's going to be manageable, maybe, if not curable. So, look at what it was like with MS 30 years ago. Look what it's like now. Look what money's being put in. Look what research is being doing. Which research is being done. There is a lot going on. I know many of those think that MS won't be cured because the pharmaceutical companies are making too much money off of DMDs. I do agree they make a lot of money off of DMDs, but MS is not the only disease making money right now. And if it does have to be a case that your MS can be perfectly manageable with treatments for the rest of your life, if a drug can completely halt disease progression to the point that you have no new lesions but you have to take something for the rest of your life, I'm sure you would pay that. Considering those with MS have to take pills the rest of their life anyway, or injections. If that pill or injection can definitely halt your disease progression, I'm sure you fantastic people would take it. Pharmaceutical companies still get their money. They still get their money for other diseases as well. There are a lot of drugs in the world for various things. And in a time where cancer is being beaten, AIDS is being beaten, I can see MS being beaten. In my lifetime, however long that may be, I plan on becoming a grumpy old woman in at least her 70s, with grandchildren, and my husband with his grey hair, which is probably going to end up turning out like his father's hair, very grey, very fluffy. I'm never going to let my hair go grey. I'm going to always have red hair. I will dye it for the rest of my life. I wouldn't suit grey hair. I don't have grey hair yet anyway. But this video is for those 2.5 million. Especially for those that I speak to on Facebook. Those that can still crack a joke about Christmas. Those that can still have a smile. Despite the fog, the hug. God, I hate the hug. I really hate the hug. Those that can't walk. Those that have to inject. Those that have to catheter. Those with pain. This disease is going to be overcome for you. And it's going to be overcome soon. It's going to be overcome for us, for our families, for our children, for our friends, which is way more than 2.5 million. And if anything, for my cat. For your cats and dogs and pets and There is a lot going on. And it is happening now. I'd recommend you subscribe to the Daily Science I get every day. Talks about studies being done on animals. I mean, Nick came across a post only the other day that said it won't be too long before medicine has become so advanced that humans can live to 500 years old. Now, bearing in mind at the moment, I think the oldest person in the world was 127. Now, if you go back 40 years, 50 years, what was the average life expectancy then? We are advancing. So, those that are religious, look to your deities, look to your prophets. Those that aren't religious, look to science. Have a little hope in the world. There are people that want this beat, either because they have it themselves or they know someone that does. I am religious, but I don't beat people with my religion stick. So I won't talk about my gods. But one thing I will say is this. I think that in every life, you are created or born to witness something. Witness something that will stay. Yes, that is my cat still. She is clambering all over me. Come on, Sassy, I'm trying to get deep. You are created and born to witness something. Whether that be something small, like the birth of someone. Sorry, I've got a sass. Whether that be a moment in time. That could be anything. In my life so far, I have witnessed the death of monarchs. I have witnessed terrible moments that held the world in stillness. I have witnessed death. I have witnessed birth. Not myself. I've not got 2 children yet, but that is on its way. Sassy, get off. But every person is created to witness a moment, a poignant moment in their life. I think everybody in the world, at this current time, those who have already seen many diseases being overcome, cured, maintained, treated, this is one of them. This is the time of MS. This is the time to overcome MS. And MS will be overcome. This is not a pipe dream. This is not a silly fantasy. This is happening now. I started my journey negative because I knew nothing about MS. As I've said, my knowledge of MS was a Family Guy sketch. I knew nothing about the disease, how it affects you, what it can do. But I know now. I'm learning and I'm reading. And this is going to be overcome. I'm sure many of you can feel it. You can feel that it's being overcome. We unfortunately have to be patient, but it is happening right now. All the articles that are out at the moment will show you. One day, I want to be able to say, I had MS. I'm fully prepared for my diagnosis in January. I know what needs to be done. But I want to be able to be one of those people. And I will end this video this way. One day, I am going to say, and you are all going to say, one sentence that will shake the world and have the world enjoy. And that sentence is, I had MS. Thanks, guys. I love all you MSers, all you monsters. Take care, all of you. Okay?